All right, you guys, what's going on? So I got about 15 minutes before I start my shift. So shout out to Michael Benson. Michael Benson has basically, dropped some hints or basically giving people an update of what's going on. Michael Benson, for the most part, is accurate with his information, as well as me. But nevertheless, it appears that due to the fact that Edgar Berlanga altered Canelo's plans. Basically, now Canelo has to go running back to the PBC. So it looks like that Canelo, which by the way is now March the 4th. So if Canelo's going to fight, he's exactly 2 months away. So, with that being said, Canelo needs to, you know, make a decision right away because he needs to get this fight signed and then basically try to have a basically a press conference to announce whoever he's going to be fighting. But it looked like it's going to be Jaime Munguia in May, and not by Canelo's choice, because he really didn't want to fight Jaime Munguia, but he looks like he has no choice. So he's not going to get David Morrell, because hopefully what they can do is with David Morrell, if they can convince Canelo to fight David Benavidez, and if David Benavidez defeats Canelo, then they could possibly set up a big fight between David Morrell and David Benavidez, probably sometime in sometime in 2025. That's what the PBC plan is. But once again, it appears that David Benavidez is not going to be part of the package. Canelo has just made it clear he doesn't want to fight the dude. He refuses to fight the dude no matter how much money they offer him to fight David Benavidez. He does not want to fight David Benavidez. David Benavidez exposed Canelo a few days ago when he basically said he was willing to take a $5 million flat rate, no gate, no pay-per-view, just $5 million. Now, funny thing is, Canelo paid, or basically Caleb Plant got $10 million to fight Canelo, $5 million more than what David Benavidez is being offered. But that's another video for another day. It just appears that Canelo, no matter what, he just doesn't want to fight David Benavidez. I think it's going to take $100 million to get Canelo in the ring with David Benavidez. Now, you have to ask yourself, if they was to give Canelo $100 million, could they turn a profit? And when I say if they gave Canelo $100 million to fight David Benavidez, I'm talking about they would have to put super promotion into that fight. I'm talking about they would probably have to stack the undercard. They would have to put Tank on the undercard to sell that fight. But then again, Tank's ego probably wouldn't allow him to fight on the same card as Canelo. But, that's a fantasy matchup. That's neither here or there. But once again, Canelo is still interested in fighting Charlo, when we all know that Charlo is not going to be a profitable fight unless Canelo is willing to take a discount. Now, if Canelo is like, okay, well, I'll fight Charlo for $15-20 million, but Canelo requires at least a $30 million minimum. Now, if he's willing to take a major discount to fight Charlo, then they'll probably, you know what I'm saying, Al Haymon probably will go ahead and make the fight, but he does not want to fight David Benavidez where Al Haymon does, because they feel like they could turn a profit fighting David Benavidez. So the only way Al Haymon would probably feel comfortable making the Charlo fight is Canelo is willing to take a major discount. In all likelihood, he wouldn't. So this is just showing you the passage of Canelo. I'm just tired of playing these games, and I'm tired of people making excuses for Canelo, talking about Canelo will fight anybody. Canelo will not fight anybody. That's been proven time and time again. We can run down Canelo's resume all you want, and it's easy to prove that Canelo is not trying to fight the best guys out there. Doesn't matter what happened with these guys in the long haul. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether Demetrius Andrade got whooped on by David Benavidez. We know Canelo wasn't willing to fight him. I mean, he told Demetrius Andrade that he wasn't going to fight him. So Canelo's always skated around fighting the best guys out there. And I don't know who created this myth that Canelo was willing to fight anybody. It's kind of almost like he was getting the Eminem treatment. You know? Well, he doesn't want to fight David Benavidez. He doesn't. It'll always be some kind of excuse why he can't get in the ring with David Benavidez. So he is just adamant on fighting Charlo, no matter how much the trajectory is that this fight is going to fail, and it's going to fail miserably. But he still wants to fight him because at the end of the day, he doesn't care what happens with the PBC. He doesn't care about the PBC's bottom line as long as he meets his bottom line and his requirements are met. And to a certain degree, he's right. That's not his problem. But at the same day, and at the same time, they're going to look at Canelo and really evaluate him, and people, like I said, they're gonna have to start telling the truth about Canelo, that Canelo wasn't willing to fight the best guys available, and he wasn't willing to give his fans and the people the fights that they wanted. Everybody's clamoring for a David Benavidez fight, but he doesn't want to oblige by his fans and by boxing. It's about what he wants. But I understand that Canelo wants to take easy and more safer fights. David Benavidez is going to be a handful, even though you got people sitting up here trying to say, well, they don't think David Benavidez is that good. Well, Canelo must think David Benavidez is that good. Like I said, people try to talk around stuff, and I know boxers don't like to say other boxers are scared of other boxers, but it just looked like Canelo was just afraid of him. And like I said, these boxers of today are just not built like how the ones of the 70s were built, the ones in the 80s, the ones in the 90s, even the boxers in the early 2000s where they were willing to take on the best guys available. But now you don't see that anymore. All you get is excuses. And like I said, this is the Floyd Mayweather effect, where everybody wants to be like Floyd Mayweather, where everybody wants to look for, well, I don't want to fight the best guy, but I'll fight this dude because I think based off what I see in this dude, based off his style, I could be able to beat him. These dudes don't want to take a challenge no more. These dudes don't want to, leave the sport saying, hey, man, I fought the best possible talent out there. Win, lose, or draw. Now these dudes, it's like, I want the best available opponent that caters to my style and that may keep me losing as less fights as possible. That's what we're getting here. Well, they're going to say David Morrell is not seasoned enough and his name is just not out there yet. But listen, I know to play with Canelo. Canelo had no choice but to go back to the PBC because basically Edgar Berlanga, he ruined Canelo's plans. And I think Edgar Berlanga saw what was going on too. He was like, nah, you're not using me as, what I'm saying, a cherry pick, and you're not using me to, as a easy fight or as a safer fight. Because even Berlanga, he knew what was going on. He knew that he wasn't ready for Canelo. Everybody knew that. And that's the thing with Canelo. Canelo is willing to fight those type of dudes. Canelo know he could beat Dave. Canelo know that he could beat Edgar Berlanga. He know he can. So that's why he was adamant about making that fight. He knows he could beat Charlo. In all likelihood, he'll defeat Jaime Munguia because, Jaime Munguia is defensively challenged. I think Jaime Munguia will have his moments, but Canelo, in all likelihood, will outpoint Jaime Munguia and win by a decision. Because we all know that once the bell ring, Canelo is going to be up by by like 4 rounds anyway when he fights Jaime Munguia. So basically, it's gonna come down to Jaime Munguia doing like what Bivol did, which is he gonna have to dominate. Like the first. You know what I'm saying? He gonna have to dominate like the first 8 rounds. He's gonna have to flat out win, or he's gonna have to drop Canelo a couple of times. So it'll be set in stone pretty much where Canelo is gonna have to, you know what I'm saying, do next to nothing. Just don't get knocked out. Just outbox Jaime Munguia. Just keep the rounds close. Don't let the rounds slip away from him. The thing is with Bivol, they had no choice but to give Bivol those rounds because Bivol was just dominating those rounds. He was visibly beating Canelo. So they couldn't give Canelo those rounds, even though they tried to. Even though I think 2 of the judges gave like the first 4 rounds to Canelo. I think one of them had it 3-1 in favor of Canelo, but 2 of the judges had it in favor of Canelo like 4-0. So they had gave Canelo the first 4 rounds like we all expected, but Bivol was just so dominant in the fight, they just couldn't steal that fight from him. Yeah, exactly. He never wanted to. Canelo was never going to fight Bivol. Canelo was never going to fight Bivol in a rematch. And then it looked like he was, basically trying to weight drain him when he was talking about, well, maybe if he comes down to 168, they was like, wait a minute, man, you fought him at 175. What the hell it looked like? And then the funny thing is when Bivol called Canelo's bluff, he said, nah, I'm good. But anyway, you guys, let me get ready to start my shift. We'll be back with more later on. Appreciate you guys tapping in.